The party was loud enough to hide almost anything, except the way Isla Peterson's hand shook before she touched my sleeve. That was the first wrong thing. Jude's backyard was packed with neighbors, coworkers, and half the people he had collected through 30 years of being the kind of man who thought a grill and a cooler solved loneliness. String lights hung over the white picket fence. Cicadas droned from the trees beyond the yard. The street lamp near the side gate hummed and flickered, throwing a weak yellow pulse across the sidewalk every few seconds. Everything looked normal. Beer bottles sweating on a picnic table. Kids chasing each other through the grass. Jude arguing about baseball with tongs in one hand. Isla standing beside the fence in a white summer dress, holding her cracked phone like it had just turned into evidence. She was Jude's older sister, 4 years ahead of me in school, confidence, and every other category that had once made her feel unreachable. When I was 14 and trying to survive algebra, she was already tutoring seniors for gas money. When Jude and I were failing at being adults in college, she had moved to the city and become the kind of data architect companies built entire audit strategies around. Isla Peterson did not ask for help lightly. Tonight, her fingers creased the leather of her clutch until the shape stayed behind. "Callum?" she said. Her voice was too quiet for a backyard party. I turned my body slightly, placing my back toward the crowd and my shoulder between her and the open yard. "What happened?" She looked past me, not at me. The street lamp near the side gate flickered again. "I need to leave," she said. "Can you walk me home?" "Are you hurt?" "No." "Did someone here bother you?" Her thumbnail pressed into the side of her index finger, hard enough to turn the skin pale. "No, it's not the party." That answer was worse. I glanced toward Jude. He was still laughing near the grill, completely unaware that his sister looked like she was standing at the edge of a room no one else could see. "I'll tell Jude we're stepping out," I said. "No?" Her hand closed around my sleeve. Not romantic, not soft. A grip that said if one more person looked at her, she might come apart. "Don't tell him yet," she whispered. "Please." My training disliked that. My instinct understood it. I worked corporate security, which meant I had built a career on the opposite of improvisation: written authorizations, incident numbers, chain of custody, camera logs, clean handoffs. 2 years ago, I had trusted a client who asked me to work quietly, and his lies nearly cost me my license. Since then, I had one rule: no secrets that made evidence dirty. But Isla's hand was still on my sleeve, and she was looking at the side gate like the darkness beyond it had already followed her inside. "Okay," I said. "Side gate, stay on my right." We left without ceremony. The 6-block walk from Jude's house to Isla's duplex should have been harmless. Old trees, clean sidewalks, porch lights, the kind of neighborhood that advertised safety because nothing ugly was supposed to happen where the fences were white and the lawns were trimmed. But the cicadas were too loud. The failing street lamp followed us with its uneven hum until we reached Elm Avenue, where the light stuttered over parked cars and empty windows. I walked on the street side of the sidewalk. I checked each parked vehicle without turning my head. Isla stayed close enough that I could hear the small hitch in her breathing, but she did not touch me again. "What has been happening?" I asked. She swallowed. 3 weeks of small things." "Define small." My mail moved, my apartment door not quite closed when I knew I locked it. A coffee cup left on my car hood in the secured garage. My office chair moved a few inches from where I left it. I stopped under the oak tree before her block. "Isla." "I know." "No, you don't." I kept my voice low. "That is not small. That is escalation." She pulled out her phone. The top left corner of the screen was cracked, a spiderweb fracture that caught the street lamp's flicker. "There's more." She opened a message from an unknown number. No words. Just a photograph. Isla in Jude's backyard, standing by the white fence, taken from behind the trees. 20 minutes ago. My body went still. Not frozen. Still. There is a difference. Panic freezes, training stills. Did you see anyone near the fence? No. Did anyone text before this? No. Do you recognize the angle? Her eyes moved back down the street toward Jude's house. Behind the side gate, she said, near the failing street lamp. The hum from that light suddenly felt louder. Okay, I said, we get inside. We document. We do not delete anything. I can't call the police yet. I looked at her. She lifted her chin before I could argue. My company is in the middle of an SEC audit. I'm lead data architect. If this becomes a public security incident before I know whether work devices were accessed, I'll be suspended pending review. David Mercer has been waiting for me to slip since I got the board presentation slot. David Mercer? My subordinate. He wanted the promotion. I got it. He's been hostile since... There it was. The first suspect. The first motive. And the first reason she had come to me instead of her brother. Not romance, not weakness. Practical buy-in. She needed someone who understood physical security, digital evidence, and why one messy report could become career damage before truth had its shoes on. We don't hide this, I said. We stage it correctly. What does that mean? It matter of we. It means if your work system is involved, we bring in your company's security team with authorization and preserve evidence before anyone can accuse you of contaminating it. It means if there's a physical break-in, we document before touching. It means you do not protect your job by making the case weaker. She stared at me under the broken light, then nodded once. Okay. We reached her duplex at the end of the block. Converted Victorian, ground floor unit, white trim, narrow porch, a rosemary planter by the door, too many shrubs near the side window. I filed that away. Keys, I said. She handed them over without argument. I pulled a flashlight from my pocket and angled the beam across the brass deadbolt. Fresh scratches shone around the keyway. Thin, bright, recent. Someone had worked a pick or tension tool against the lock. Did you do this? No. I tested the knob with 2 gloved fingers. Unlocked. Isla's hand went to her throat, then dropped before touching skin. I locked it? I believe you. That mattered more than comfort. I pushed the door open and kept her on the porch while I cleared the entry. Living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, closets, and rear hall. No person inside. Windows latched, no obvious missing items, but the air had the wrong feeling of a room someone had moved through without belonging to it. Clear, I said. She stepped in and stopped just inside the door. Her gaze went straight to the desk in the corner. A heavy desktop tower sat beneath it, monitors asleep, keyboard perfectly aligned. Do you leave that on? I asked. It runs overnight models. Do not touch it. She froze. I took photos first. Door, lock, desk, windows. Then I opened a new incident file on my tablet and logged the time, address, and condition of entry. Isla watched me from the kitchen island. You're making a report. I'm making a record. I thought you said we weren't calling police yet. We're not calling without a clean sequence, but we are not pretending this didn't happen. Her fingers relaxed slightly on the counter. Thank you. I pulled out nitrile gloves, evidence tape, and a small RF detector from my case in the trunk. Then I paused. Before I sweep rules, she nodded. First, you authorize me in writing to inspect your personal devices in residence for this incident only. Second, I do not access company systems without your company's security lead present. Third, if I find immediate danger, I call law enforcement whether it complicates your audit or not. Her thumbnail pressed into her finger, then stopped. Agreed. Fourth, you do not lie to me, not to protect David, not to protect your job, not to protect Jude from worrying. Her mouth tightened at Jude's name. I won't lie. Good. I wrote the authorization in plain language. She read it twice before signing. That made me respect her more. For the next 2 hours, the apartment became procedure. RF sweep, clean. Smoke detectors, clean. Baseboards, clean. Router photographed, not touched yet. Windows checked. I replaced her compromised deadbolt with a biometric lock from my kit, logged the old lock's condition, and bagged it for later transfer if police opened a report. The work steadied her. Not because locks solve fear, because each documented thing took 1 inch of control away from whoever had walked in. When I reached the desk, I stopped. Do you have your company security lead's number? Yes, Mara Kent. She handles physical access and endpoint escalation. Call her. At this hour? If your company device was touched, she wants to know before audit counsel does. Isla called. Mara answered on the second ring. Isla explained without shaking until she reached the part about the deadbolt. Then her voice broke on the word unlocked. She corrected herself immediately. Mara did not panic. I liked her voice already. Put Callum on, she said. Isla handed me the phone. This is Callum Harris. I'm a licensed corporate security consultant. Isla signed a limited authorization for residence inspection. I have not accessed company data. Her desktop may have been physically touched. Good, Mara said. Keep it that way. Can you preserve USB event visibility without opening work files? Yes, with your authorization on the line and Isla present. I'm recording the incident number now. Mara said, I'll send a written authorization and have our endpoint response vendor join within 10 minutes. No production data leaves that machine. Agreed. 10 minutes later, I imaged the USB event log under Mara's direction while the company endpoint vendor watched over secure video. There it was. External mass storage connected at 7:42 p.m. 20 minutes before the photo arrived. A small executable added itself to a hidden startup directory. Keylogger. Isla's face went white. Did they steal data? Mara answered before I could. Not from what we see right now. This looks like capture going forward, not exfiltration backward. We're isolating the endpoint from sensitive access. I nodded. We leave a controlled sink open? Mara was quiet for one beat. You're thinking beacon trace? I'm thinking preserve, observe, and don't tip them off. Approved with vendor oversight? Mara said. No cowboy work. I dislike horses. Isla looked at me. For the first time all night, a tiny, almost smile crossed her face. It disappeared quickly, but it had existed. By 2:11, the keylogger pinged its command server. The endpoint vendor captured the beacon. We did not magically trace it to David from a couch. We preserved the destination, hashed the file, logged the traffic, and let Mara begin the proper provider request through company counsel. That was slower. That was cleaner. That was how evidence survives. When the call ended, Isla stood in the kitchen holding the chipped yellow mug that said "World's Okayest Sister." She had made coffee at some point and forgotten to drink it. The spoon trembled once against the ceramic rim, then went still when she saw me looking. I hate that this is my life tonight, she said. I know. Do you? I looked at the deadbolt parts sealed in an evidence bag on her counter. Not the way you do. That answer seemed to land better than pretending. She pushed the yellow mug toward me. You look like you need this more than I do. I took it. World's okayest security consultant. Don't get ambitious. The humor was thin. It still counted. I'm staying on the couch, I said, unless you tell me to leave. You don't have to. Someone crossed your threshold tonight. I'm staying because the risk says stay, not because I think you can't handle fear. She held my gaze. Couch, she said. So I stayed, not as a hero. As a witness with a report open? Monday, the side camera caught headlights pausing outside her duplex at 1:06 a.m. Tuesday, the malware beacon pinged again, and Mara's vendor confirmed the same command server. Wednesday, Isla found her office chair moved 3 inches from where she left it. Thursday, Jude texted me, "Why is my sister's porch camera pointed at my grill?" I stared at the message at Isla's kitchen island and almost laughed for the first time in 4 days. Isla looked up from her board slides. "What?" I showed her. She closed her eyes. "Don't tell him." "You know Jude. He'll build a conspiracy out of porch camera angles. He already thinks my job is a cult because we use the word architecture for data. He may not be wrong." That got a real laugh. Small. Tired. But real. The days between fear and proof have their own kind of intimacy. Not dramatic. Practical. I swept the exterior before dawn. Isla stopped pretending not to notice. By the third morning, the yellow mug waited on the counter before I finished the perimeter check. She never said it was mine. She only turned the handle toward my right hand. When thunder rolled in Wednesday night and rain drowned out the cicadas, I saw her shoulders tighten at the window. I did not put the blanket around her. I folded it and placed it beside her on the couch. "Draft from the frame," I said. She looked at the blanket, then at me. "You're very careful." "Professional habit." "No," she said. "Fear habit." I had no quick answer for that. Jude had told her about my former client. Of course he had. Jude could keep a grill at the perfect temperature for 12 hours, but he could not keep a personal story contained for 12 minutes. "You know what happened," I said. "I know someone lied to you and almost ruined your career. That is the short version. And now you treat every person like a file that might contain malware." I looked at the rain on the glass. "That is unfortunately accurate." She pulled the blanket over her lap. "I'm not asking you to trust me blindly." "Good. I'm asking you not to make distance do the work of judgment." That one hit. She did not push further. That made it worse. By Thursday afternoon, we had enough to move. The provider records were not back yet. Those would take time, but Mara had badge anomalies. Building security had lobby footage. Isla's written authorization allowed her company to preserve her office camera and access logs. No one had to hack anything. No one had to guess. Officer Lane, the building security lead, met me in the lobby of Isla's office tower with a clipboard and the tired face of a man who had spent the morning explaining to executives that cameras were not decorative. "We pulled the logs after Ms. Peterson's authorization," he said. "David Mercer badged into her floor after hours twice this week." "Server room?" "No server room access, but he entered the maintenance corridor near her office at 7:31 last Saturday, same night as the USB event." "Camera?" He showed me the still. David in a navy suit, face angled down, carrying a laptop sleeve. Not proof of the home break-in, but a thread. "At 3:42 p.m., Isla called." Her voice was quiet enough to make my skin tighten. "Callum?" "I'm here. I'm in my office. There's a photograph on my keyboard." "Of what?" "You." My hand closed around the edge of the clipboard. "Describe it." "You sitting in your car outside the building, taken from above, maybe an hour ago. Do not touch it. Step away from the desk. Leave your office, lock the door, and go to the main lobby. Do not use the stairwell. Stay with people." "I'm walking." "I'll meet you at security." Officer Lane was already moving. By the time Isla reached the lobby, Mara Kent from HR was on a secure call. The company endpoint vendor was preserving the office workstation, and Lane had 2 guards posted near the elevators. Isla walked out of the elevator holding herself together with pure will. No tears. No panic. Just one hand clenched around the strap of her bag until the leather creased. I stepped into her path, far enough to block the open lobby, close enough for the security desk to hear every word. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Did you touch the photograph?" "No." "Good." Her eyes searched mine. "It's David, isn't it?" "We have enough to bring him into process," I said. "Not enough to skip process." Her jaw set. "Then we do it right." Mara arrived in person 10 minutes later. She was shorter than I expected, with a steel gray bob, red glasses, and the kind of calm that made nervous people stop wasting words. She took the preliminary packet from me and read the cover page. USB event log, endpoint capture, badge access, office photo, residential lock photographs, camera stills, incident timeline. She looked at Isla. "This chain is clean." Isla breathed out slowly. Mara turned to Officer Lane. "Revoke Mercer's badge now. Escort him to conference room B if he's on site. No conversation without HR present." Lane nodded. Then Mara looked at Isla. "You have a board presentation in 40 minutes. You can postpone." David Mercer chose that moment to appear near the elevator bank. Of course he did. Navy suit, perfect smile, concern manufactured in advance. "Isla," he called. "There you are. The board is already asking for the data models. Everything okay? You look a little shaken." It was a script. Public doubt, gentle concern, make her look unstable before she could present. My whole body wanted to step forward and end it. That was the old pattern. Handle the threat, protect the principal, take over the room. Instead, I handed Isla the folder. Her fingers closed around it. She looked at David, then at Mara. "I'm not postponing," Isla said. "But before I present, HR needs to receive this." She walked to Mara herself and placed the folder in her hands. "This is the incident packet," Isla said. "I am requesting immediate preservation of David Mercer's access records, devices, and office workstation. I am also asking building security to add this photograph to the report before the board meeting starts." Mara nodded once. "Received." David's smile flickered. "Isla, what are you doing?" Officer Lane stepped between him and the elevators. "David Mercer," Lane said. "Your badge access has been temporarily revoked pending investigation. Please come with HR." David looked at me. I did not move. That seemed to frighten him more than if I had. "This is absurd," he said. "She's paranoid. She brought some boyfriend security guy to attack my career because she can't handle pressure." The lobby went quiet. There it was. The final card. Make her emotion the crime. Isla turned toward him. For 1 second, I saw the woman from the backyard again, hand shaking, phone cracked, eyes searching for a way out. Then she lifted the folder. "No," she said. "This is not paranoia. This is a USB event log, a compromised lock, a photograph placed on my keyboard, and your badge history. HR can decide what it means. I have a board presentation." She walked past him. Not fast, not shaking. Straight to the elevators. I followed 2 steps behind, where a witness belongs. The presentation lasted 47 minutes. I watched from the back of the boardroom, while Isla explained a data architecture model so complex that 3 executives stopped pretending they understood before slide 7. She did not mention David. She did not apologize for the delay. She did not perform fear or bravery. She did the work. That was the win. Afterward, the board chair stood. Ms. Peterson," he said, "your audit model is the strongest continuity framework we've seen this quarter. HR will handle the separate security matter. Your promotion review remains active." Isla nodded. "Thank you." Only then did she look at me. Not for rescue. For confirmation that the record held. I gave her one nod. It held. By Friday morning, David Mercer was suspended pending investigation. By Friday afternoon, the company forensic team confirmed his office machine had accessed the same malware builder used on Isla's desktop. Provider records would take longer, but the pattern was enough for HR action and a police report. Officer Lane and Mara accompanied Isla to the precinct. She gave the statement herself. I sat in the hallway with the yellow mug she had insisted I bring, because she said precinct coffee tasted like printer toner and regret. A temporary protective order followed, then a formal restraining order. Then, finally, the audit board cleared Isla's project and approved her promotion. The threat did not vanish in one dramatic moment. It was dismantled piece by piece. Badge revoked. Access locked. Device imaged. Report filed. Order granted. That was how safety became real. On Saturday evening, I packed my RF detector, spare sensors, and cables into my hard case in Isla's living room. The cicadas hummed outside again, but this time they sounded like summer, not surveillance. The failing street lamp across the block had been repaired by the city after Jude complained 3 times and claimed it was creating a suspicious vibe near my brisket zone. Isla stood by the kitchen island holding the chipped yellow mug. So, she said, case closed. Not fully. Legal process continues, but immediate threat is contained. That sounds like you avoiding the word goodbye. I clicked the case shut. It might be. She walked to the door and stood between me and the exit. Not blocking. Choosing where the conversation would happen. And the rules? She asked. The rules? Full access, no lying, staying until the perimeter is safe. The perimeter is safe. I'm not talking about the perimeter. My mouth went dry. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the crooked brass key from her keyring. The useless one. The one from the childhood treehouse Jude had built badly, and Isla had somehow kept all these years. I don't have a spare for the biometric lock yet, she said. So this is a placeholder. I looked at the key in her palm. A thing that opened nothing. A thing that meant something anyway. If I take that, I said, I'm not taking it as a contractor? I know. And not as Jude's friend. I know. And not because fear made the weak feel bigger than it was. She stepped closer. Fear made the weak honest, she said. Not bigger. I did not reach for the key right away. That mattered too. Isla. Yes? You know this has to stay secret. Her eyebrows lifted. For now, I said, from Jude. Because if he finds out before we tell him properly, he'll turn it into a family press conference with burgers. A smile broke across her face. The first unguarded one. True, she whispered, and also because he will say he knew first. He absolutely did not. He absolutely will. Then she placed the brass key in my hand. Not dropped. Placed. I closed my fingers around it. Her hand stayed there for one heartbeat longer than necessary. Neither of us moved. No case. No threat. No report. Just a woman choosing what came next after the danger was no longer making choices for her. Months later, winter turned Jude's backyard silver. The string lights were thicker now, frosted bulbs hanging over the same white picket fence where Isla had first touched my sleeve. The cicadas were gone. The failing street lamp near the side gate had been replaced with a steady warm light that no longer hummed like a warning. Inside the house, Jude was arguing about hockey with the same conviction he brought to grilled meat and incorrect weather predictions. I stood by the fence with a mug of hot cider, watching my breath cloud in the cold. The back door opened. Isla stepped out in a wool coat, carrying another mug. She walked across the frost-covered grass and handed it to me. You're hiding, she said. I'm securing the perimeter? You're avoiding Jude? Both can be true. She laughed and leaned her shoulder against mine. Not hidden. Not secret now. Through the kitchen window, Jude looked out, saw us, and stopped mid-argument. His mouth opened. Then he pointed at us with the outrage of a man whose family conspiracy board had just become real. Isla lifted her mug to him. A toast? A public confession in the smallest possible shape. Jude shouted something we could not hear through the glass. Isla smiled. No looking over her shoulder. No tension in her knuckles. No cracked phone hidden in her clutch. She stood beside me under the repaired street lamp, in full view of the family she had once been afraid to worry, and chose not to step away. I wrapped one arm around her shoulders. She let the weight settle. The night was cold. The fence was white. The light held steady. And for the first time in years, I understood that safety was not a locked room, a clean log, or a perfect perimeter. It was the moment someone could stand in the open, with your hand at their back, and face the world without asking you to hide them from it. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson: real trust is built through clean choices, honest evidence, and the courage to face danger without letting fear control the story. Green flag: healthy love respects boundaries, protects agency, and shows up consistently after the crisis is over. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.